Hello, my little spirits, and welcome to the Haunted Library. Today we have some dark web stories, so grab a snack, relax, and let's get into reading. I searched my parents' names on the dark web. The videos I found were horrifying. When my friend first introduced me to the dark web, I was amazed at how such an unknown thing could house some of the most illegal things on earth. Up until today, I had only used it for learning how to code and commit small crimes. But after the horrifying videos I just found, I don't think I'll use the dark web ever again. I first met my best friend Alex when I was in high school. My parents had moved us into a new town and I had no friends. It was lonely at first, but I got used to it. We moved because they were paranoid after many murders occurred in our town. I thought it was weird moving across the country over that, but I let it go. The reason Alex and I became friends so quickly was because we both had a shared interest of the internet and everything it had to offer. I was a gaming addict while he was more of a coder and developer. 2 years later, we were still best friends, but now much older and smarter. Alex had discovered the dark web and he was obsessed with it. He pretty much spent every hour of the day searching through anything you could imagine. There was nothing wrong with this, but one search he made was the biggest mistake of his entire life. I remember waking up to dozens of text messages from him one morning. This wasn't normal. Alex wasn't a very sociable person and it was very hard to get words out of him. I opened my phone to see what he had messaged me. "Dude, Jack, you have to come over right now. This is important. Jack, please wake up. This is urgent. Where are you?" These were only some of the messages, but the rest were very similar and all urgent, and that I needed to go to his house immediately. My parents were both still at work, so I went over to Alex's house. When I arrived, there were 4 cop cars parked in front of his house, dozens of people and news vans standing out front. I made my way through the crowd and Alex's mother told the police to let me inside. I could see tears rolling down her cheeks as she opened the door. "What's going on, Mrs. Gonzalez?" "Alex is missing. Alex is missing," she said as she started crying. My heart sank. How could this happen? He had just texted me earlier that morning. That was when it hit me. What if he was trying to warn me? What if his text messages were related to his disappearance? Still in shock, I walked up to one of the detectives in the kitchen. "Is Alex going to be okay?" "Of course he is. He's going to be just fine. We're gonna find him very soon." Something about that response was off. It was like I knew he was wrong. Deep down, I had this slight feeling that I wasn't going to see him ever again. I remembered the text messages, however, and pulled out my phone to show it to the detective. He texted me this morning. What if this has something to do with him going missing? As he began reading them, his expression quickly changed. It was like it got worse. He told me they needed to keep my phone for now to investigate the text messages and said they would give it back to me later. I stayed around the house for a while, not just because I missed Alex, but because I wanted to comfort his parents. They cared about me a lot and it hurt me to see them like that. His mother couldn't stop crying, and eventually I went into Alex's room to see if I could find anything that might give a clue about why he went missing. I searched through everything, but I found nothing. Then I noticed something. Alex's computer was on, but his monitor was turned off. I looked for the button to turn it on and hit it. As the screen lit up, my heart sank. He was on the dark web. Obviously, this was normal, but for some reason, he had dozens of different tabs open. I knew this part wasn't normal, so I closed the door and locked it and began going through them. At first, it was all pretty usual for him, but then things started to get weird. He had a tab open that was an article about a murder that had happened several years ago. The article said it was a woman who was found dead in her apartment. Her body was mutilated, cut up, and covered in acid. I nearly threw up reading it and seeing the horrifying pictures of the crime scene. Not wanting to see any of it anymore, I switched tabs to reveal another article about another murder. Confused, I quickly went to the rest of the tabs he had opened. They were all the same thing, all some type of murder or crime. The one that stuck out to me the most, however, was the one about a murder that happened 2 years ago. At first, it seemed pretty normal, but as I read further, I realized what it was. It was about the murder of our neighbor that prompted us to move away. Confusion quickly swept over me. How did Alex know about this? I never told him about it, because to me, it wasn't that important. I figured it must have been just a strange coincidence. Then I saw the last search he made on his computer. It was my last name. Horrified and confused, I quickly stumbled out of his room and back to the living room. "Is everything alright?" Alex's mother said, sniffing away her tears. "Yeah, I just gotta go home for dinner." On the way home, so many questions filled up my mind. Why was he searching up my last name? Did he think I had something to do with this? That must have been why he was texting me so frantically this morning. If only I could explain to him that I didn't do anything wrong. but I couldn't. He was missing, and I had to find out why. When I got home, I raced to my room and slammed the bedroom door shut and got on my computer. I loaded up to my Tor browser and turned on my VPN. I knew what I had to do. I began typing in the letters of my last name, becoming more nervous after every letter. When I finally hit enter, nothing happened. It was just a blank screen. Confused, I refreshed the page. Once again, there was nothing. But why did Alex search this if there was nothing? I thought to myself. There must be something out there. I was getting ready to close the tab, thinking I ran into a dead end, when suddenly the page started to load. It took several minutes, but finally it loaded to reveal hundreds of videos. Immediately, I knew what they were. They were murders. But why did they show up when you searched my last name? I considered just stopping right there and turning back, knowing the horrifying things I would see if I continued on, but I couldn't. I knew this had to be why Alex went missing, so I clicked the first video. As it started playing, I saw what looked like a woman strapped to a chair in some sort of basement. I quickly recognized who it was. It was our neighbor from 2 years ago. I could tell she had the same heart-shaped tattoo on her neck. She sat there for a minute, struggling, panicking, and screaming for someone to help. However, suddenly 2 figures walked into frame. At first, I couldn't tell who they were, but as they turned around to face the camera, my heart sank. It was my parents, my father holding a knife while my mother was holding a small scalpel. They paused for a moment before they started what was the most horrifying 5 minutes of my entire life. I watched as they cut her into pieces and listened as she begged for mercy, screaming the whole time. Blood filled the room as she took her last breath. When the video ended, it quickly went to another, revealing the exact same room and chair I had seen before. I was traumatized by what I had already seen, and I knew I couldn't watch any more of it. My parents were murderers, and now I know the real reason we had to move away. I knew there was something off about that, but I never imagined that this was the horrifying secret they had been hiding from me. This whole time I thought Alex was trying to accuse me of being responsible for these murders, but I was so wrong. He was trying to warn me. I scanned through more videos, each in the exact same room. I was about to finish, ready to go to the police so I could tell them what I had just seen, until I noticed something. There was a new video uploaded today on the website. I clicked on it and pressed play to reveal what looked like a man this time. Strapped to the chair, he had a sack over his face. I couldn't tell who it was. Once again, my parents walked into the frame. My father walked up to the man and pulled the sack off his head. At first, I couldn't tell who it was, but then I realized who I was looking at. It was Alex. Journey to the dark web. I'm a computer technician by profession. I work for a company that is contracted by local businesses and private consumers to set up internet connections, install software, and repair any sort of computer problems they can come up with. So naturally, I get all kinds of crazy stories and problems that these people come up with. I swear, some of these people just don't know how to work a computer, even in this day and age. So one day, I get a call from a local business complaining that their internet is acting up and that they must have a virus. I shake my head thinking someone must have unplugged a network cable or downloaded a Trojan horse accidentally. I get up and drive over to the business to address the problem. As soon as I arrive, the man who called me immediately spots me and starts going on and on about hackers and how much he hates Microsoft Windows and how many viruses it creates and all that nonsense that I usually receive when addressing business problems. He leads me to his computer and I pull out my laptop and sit down in front of it and begin to work. He tells me good luck and walks away. I open up the browser he uses and it opens up blank, so I try connecting to Google and a 404 error pops up. Well, I know that Google definitely exists, so there's a problem with his internet connection. I open his network and sharing center to see if I can use the built-in troubleshooter to diagnose the problem, but I give myself a well-deserved facepalm when I see that he isn't connected to any network at all. I search for networks and find a wireless connection for him to connect to. They're all web encrypted, and I'm almost positive that he doesn't know the key, so I break out my laptop and run a web cracking tool to get his computer up and running again. As I'm waiting for my tool to find the web key, another network suddenly shows up on my computer, this one unprotected with an SSID consisting of a random hexadecimal string. Now I'm extremely bored waiting for this guy to return, so I decide to connect it and take a little look around to see what this was coming from. I connect without problems and open up my toolkit of cracking tools to see if I can find the source for this connection. As I'm having fun hacking away at this unprotected network, my computer freezes up, albeit only for a second or two. But this doesn't happen much, and it caught me by surprise. I shrugged it off as the poor internet speed here and kept on going. A couple minutes later, however, it happened again. A few minutes after that, once again, each time getting longer and longer. Weird, I thought to myself. What's with this network? It was then that things started getting really interesting. After the long string of pauses, my screen flickered a little bit, and out of nowhere, my browser opened by itself. Now I was worried that I had somehow infected my computer with some kind of malware by connecting to this network, and I proceeded to close the browser and began to disconnect from the network before anything worse could happen. No matter how many times I clicked the little disconnect button, my computer didn't respond. Despite everything else on my screen running fine, fuck, I thought, this is gonna be a long day. And just as I was about to hit the power button on my laptop to perform a hard reset, my browser opened again, this time with a little chat box. Hello. I stared at the screen for a couple seconds, not knowing what's going on. I want to talk to you. Now I heard that these AI programs all have these programmed responses to simulate conversation with people, and I was not impressed. This was one nasty virus. You need to leave this internet now. This is your last warning. Maybe an automated security program designed to keep hackers out? I'll have to admit, I was impressed with it. I never seen anything like this before. I'm telling you one last time, leave now. I don't know what made me do it, but I responded to the program, or what. The next response scared me more than anything in this world ever has. The program began listing information about me, my name, address, telephone number, credit card information, my parents' name, their address. My heart sank in my chest, and all the color immediately left my face. I couldn't move. I just sat there, paralyzed with fear. But what came next was even worse. Don't look at me like that. My webcam was on. You really shouldn't stare. You might see something you might regret. Suddenly, the most horrifying images you could ever imagine flashed on my screen. Images of disemboweled humans, human sacrifice, detached limbs, cannibals eating people, video clips of mass suicide, firing lines. My heart was racing, my body shaking in utter fear of the images I was being shown. They're seared in my brain. These were things that no one should ever see. I mustered the strength I had left and hit the power button on my computer and slammed it shut. I ran to the bathroom and threw up a couple of times. I was drenched in sweat. I could barely compose myself. It took me 20 minutes to go back to my computer, and even then I had a hard time getting near it. I looked over at my client's computer and it was connected to the wireless network I was cracking earlier. It was working fine now. Then my client returned and thanked me for fixing his internet. I didn't say anything. I just grabbed my laptop and left. Going down the elevator with my laptop under my shoulder was terrible. I wanted to leave this place and get my laptop replaced as soon as I could. 5th floor, 4th floor, 3rd floor, 2nd floor. Damn it, ground floor. Open up, come on. And just as it opened, from behind me, a whisper, you really shouldn't stare. That was some spooky stories. What'd you think? Tell me about it in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I know this video is a little bit shorter, but I'll be going on vacation next week, so I won't have a reading video for next week, but I will be posting gameplay of a horror game for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, my spooky friends.